I be getting to the money. Everybody mad. I think I'm getting too much money. Everybody mad.
What's up, Wealth Babe? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome. On this channel, we do discuss all things wealth. So if you're interested in more wealth building content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and also click the bell to turn on post notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. In today's video, we're going to talk about exchange traded funds and why I chose the exchange traded funds or ETFs that are in my portfolio in particular. If you're not familiar with exchange traded funds, check out the video that I've already released on this channel. You may have already guessed, it is titled Exchange Traded Funds. I'll link it in the cards above and also in the description box below. So go ahead and check that out and then come back to this video. Now let's go ahead and hop right into it. Currently in my portfolio are the ETFs Vanguard S&P 500 and Vanguard Total Stock Market. So if you're interested in purchasing shares with these two or in these two ETFs, the ticker symbols are VOO for the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF and VTI for the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. So I used Cash App to purchase shares, actually fractional shares, because I don't have the funds to purchase full shares just yet with these ETFs. But I used Cash App. However, you don't have to use Cash App to purchase your shares or fractional shares. Check the ticker symbols out with your particular broker, whether that's Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Vanguard, or any other brokerage account for that matter. So look up the ticker symbol, find out if it's available if you are interested in purchasing these shares. Now, the one thing that I do want to specifically share in this video is my particular reason for or decision making process on why these ETFs. So they are Vanguard ETFs. If you haven't yet, check out the video on this channel where I talk a little bit about Vanguard and Jack Bogle. That is the video titled Index Funds. I'll link it in the cards above and in the description box below. But I wanted to bring up Jack Bogle in this video because Vanguard now has ETFs and Jack Bogle is the pioneer behind Vanguard. He is the individual who created index funds to begin with, and now they have ETFs. So I am going to further expand on more reasons, and we can look into these exact exchange traded funds. Let me just say that if I had all the money in the world and capital wasn't a limiting factor for me when it comes to investing, I would hands down invest in an index fund. But my second option right now is, because I don't have that capital, I would much rather invest in an ETF than to bother with mutual funds or even be out of the stock market altogether. So to invest in an index fund, the minimum investment amount for these ETFs that I'm talking about in this video is $3,000 up front. So you have to have that minimum investment amount before you can even put in any additional money. You can't purchase fractional shares, and you can't purchase just one share before you put up that minimum investment amount. So because I don't have that right now, I chose the ETFs. Now the actual S&P 500 ETF is right now, I think the share price is $268.78, and the share price for the total stock market ETF is, I want to say, $147.47. And with the Cash App, you know, you can purchase fractional shares. So even if I don't have the money to purchase just one share at this time, I can put in as little as $1 in these ETFs with Cash App. So those are the pluses. I'm rocking with Vanguard once I'm able to get the money for the minimum investment amount. I'm definitely going to go ahead and invest in index funds, but I can settle for ETFs at this moment. So now I'm gonna hop over into Vanguard's website, which I highly recommend that you utilize the tool when you are needing to search up any of Vanguard's funds. Just so that you know, these two that we're looking at today are not the only funds that Vanguard has. Vanguard has so many index funds and so many ETFs, so definitely check out the website when you need to do research on any of these funds. We are going to take a deeper dive into the two that we're discussing today, so the VTI and the VOO, and let's go ahead and look at the site. So I am starting on Vanguard's homepage. And honestly, you don't even have to navigate anywhere. You can just simply go up to the search bar, and I'll start with VOO, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. So let me type that in, and I'm gonna click this third one here because that's the one that we want. And you'll notice that you have all of these different tabs. Here's a quick overview. That's the default tab, but I'm going to scroll to the bottom because instead of looking at these individually, I want to look at this one simultaneously with the VTI fund. So I am going to add fund, which I want to bring up VTI, and I'm going to click that search bar and then type VTI in this search bar and then click on VTI, and you'll notice that we have both the symbols VOO and VTI, and if you needed to, you can add additional funds to compare against these two. So now that we have the two funds up here in the screen, I want to highlight a few key points without getting too far into the metrics. You'll see in this screen as I'm walking through the details, but this will be high level, and before we review or go any further, I just want to say that one, if you're going to invest in these two ETFs, then you should be investing for the long term. Two, these funds have hundreds, if not thousands, of stocks or bonds, so they're well diversified, which you'll see a little later when we are reviewing the details. And then the third point is that these funds do pay dividends, which if you reinvest the dividends into the ETF, that will compound your return tremendously over the long term. So invest in these for the long term if you are thinking about selecting these funds. So let's look at the fund overview first. As I already mentioned, the symbols are VOO for the Vanguard S&P ETF and VTI for the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. The expense ratios are very low, so both are at 0.03, and then as I mentioned earlier, those stock prices for these two ETFs are listed here. I won't say them again, but do know that these prices will fluctuate when the stock market is open, so they may not be listed at these same prices when you go to purchase. So that's all I want to cover in the fund overview section. Moving down a little bit, I want to look at the average annual performance, and this is quarter end specifically. They do have additional sections that have different time parameters, but this is the quarter end in particular. And looking at that first year for both the S&P 500 first, I'll say that this one is down by 7%, and then this one is down by 9%. Whereas for the 3-year time parameter, this one's up by 5% and this one's up by 4%. And with the 5-year, this one's up by almost 7%, whereas this one's up by almost 6%. You will notice that this one hasn't been opened for 10 years yet. You'll see the inception date for the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF was September of 2010. So actually in September of this year, that 10-year mark will be made. And then for the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, we do have a 10-year market price, which is up by 10.16%. And this one was created in May of 2001. So let's go down and look at with some information that I find very exciting, and that is the 10 largest holdings section. And here you can see that as of the end of March, these companies are the companies with the 10 largest holdings within these funds, and they look a little similar here, but when you actually the top 10 are the exact same, but notice that the percentage of total net assets is different with both of these, or each of these funds. So for these 10 companies with the S&P 500, it makes up 26.50% of the total net assets, and this one is a little less, so it makes up, these companies make up 22.40% of the total net assets. So moving down to the equity characteristics, you'll see that the Vanguard S&P 500 has 508 total number of stocks, and the Total Stock Market ETF has 3,535 total number of stocks. And that just goes back to my earlier point on how these are really diversified. So I do want to also look at the equity sector diversification, and you'll see the sectors here on this first column. These are, so I'll name a few: energy, healthcare, real estate, and utilities. Notice that the percentage of these equity sectors are different for each of the funds. Here with the basic minerals, it's 2.08%, and then with the basic minerals on this fund, it's 2.25. So they are different, they hold different weights, and the Vanguard Total Stock Market, as you would think, has way more stocks in each of these in its fund. So let's go back over to look at these individually so that we can take a look at the exact stocks or bonds that make up each fund. So I'm going to scroll back to the top so that I can click on the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, and then I'll look at the other fund shortly thereafter. So I'm going to scroll down on this screen. Most of this information we just literally went over, but I want to stop here on this graph in particular. So if you were to invest $10,000 within the S&P 500 ETF in 2010, notice how much your portfolio investment would have grown here in this year. So $10,000 in 2010 would create $32,480 here in 2020. And this is hypothetical growth, so it's not going to be exact for everyone who did actually do this, but that is tremendous. So I'm hoping to create that kind of wealth with my portfolio once I'm able to attain that amount invested, if not more. But I'm moving down on the screen, and you'll see that we are looking at the equity sector diversification again, and then we have those top 10 companies that we just looked at. Look at the fund total net asset, $443 billion. And then I want to go into the actual stocks. I'm not even seeing where that is. Maybe I passed it. Where is it? Oh, portfolio holding. So this hyperlink here, if you click that, you'll see exactly which stocks are in this portfolio, and I like this tab. So look at all of these companies. They have Disney, Bank of America, Netflix in there, Walmart, Adobe's in there, and you can just go through these pages to see what other stocks are in the company. They have Nike in there. Let's see, Citigroup, Lockheed Martin, even Boeing's in there. So this is the nice thing about that. And then you can also see what bonds are in the ETF as well, and it looks like a bunch of US Treasury bills. So I'm gonna go back over to the VTI fund. Let's look at that one to see what stocks and bonds are in this one. So I'm gonna scroll back down to the bottom again, and you'll see $10,000, well, $9,199 in 2010 would create $29,000 for you in 2020. So let's scroll to the bottom and look at the portfolio holdings. A lot of these companies will be the same, but notice that this one has more. So I'm just gonna go through these, and I'm not gonna go through all of them though, because that's way too many for me to go through all of them, but I'll go a little further. So Target's in this one, BlackRock, and these may be in the other one as well. I just didn't do that much clicking through the pages to see. It would be nice to know of the 3,505 which ones are not in the other fund. I'll look at that later. All right, so look at the bonds. This one has 7 bonds, so 2 more than the others. And that's pretty much all I wanted to share with you. So as I continue to build my savings, I will definitely choose the ETF route. And once I'm comfortable with my personal savings amount, I'll move on to saving more for the $3,000 minimum investment with the index fund. But until then, of course, I will be choosing to invest in ETF. That's it for now, Wealth Babe. Be sure to check out the other investment vehicle videos on this channel. So that would be the mutual fund video, the index fund video, and also the exchange traded fund video. Comment below and let me know what you think about these 2 exchange traded funds that we took a look at today, and if you are interested in putting money into them. And always remember that if you're not fully, truly, and totally committed to building wealth, then chances are you won't. Mwah.